Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're setting our focus on decoding the anatomy of a truly monumental sporting greatness. We are, of course, talking about Virat Kohli. Now, whether you follow cricket religiously or you just casually scroll through sports news from time to time, you definitely know the sheer magnitude of his influence. But today, we're going to look way beyond the highlight reels and the flashy headlines. We're going to use the data, the history, and the raw numbers to understand exactly how he built this massive legacy. And we're starting with a rather brilliant piece of irony.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're starting with a direct plea from the man himself to the Royal Challengers Bangalore fans during a jersey unboxing event. So, despite an entire global fan base literally anointing him as King Kohli, he actually begged them to stop. He told Faf du Plessis that it makes him feel incredibly embarrassed every single year. I find this absolutely fascinating. It perfectly sets up the central tension of our explainer today, How does a player who actively rejects the crown continue to build a statistical and cultural empire that basically forces the world to crown him anyway?
Chapter 1, From Chiku to Menace. Let's look at exactly where and how this relentless competitive spirit started.
It's a pretty hilarious contrast. On one side, we have his famous childhood nickname, Chiku. It was given to him by a childhood coach simply because his big cheeks, short-cropped hair, and sticking-out ears made him look exactly like the rabbit from the popular Indian comic magazine, Chumpuk. But jump forward to the time he was leading the India under-19 team to a World Cup victory, and Coach Rahul Dravid definitely wasn't calling him a rabbit. He called him a wrong-footed, in-swinging menace. Because beyond his incredible batting, Kohli was actually terrifying with the ball, taking 4 wickets in that tournament at a staggering bowling average of 12.5. So the cute nickname stuck around, but the absolute menace on the field had officially arrived.
But if you want to pinpoint the exact moment the steel was forged in Virat Kohli, you really have to look at this heartbreaking timeline from a 2006 Ranji Trophy match against Karnataka. He was just 17 years old. Just a kid, right? At the end of day 2, he was 40 not out, anchoring a massive rescue mission for his team. That very night, his father suddenly passed away. Honestly, any normal teenager would have walked away. But Kohli? He attended the funeral in the morning, went right back to the crease on day 3, and scored a crucial 90 to save Delhi from a massive deficit. As he later said, that was the literal day cricket became his absolute first priority in life. It forged a kind of supernatural resilience that would go on to define his entire career.
Chapter 2. A statistical phenomenon.
39%. Out of all the historic moments in the first 8 editions of the Men's T20 World Cup, a massive 39% of fans voted for just one single event as the greatest moment in the tournament's history. It was Kohli's unbeaten 82 off 53 balls against Pakistan at the MCG in 2022. India was chasing 160, reeling at 31 for 4, and he engineered what was basically a mathematical and physical miracle, highlighted by that iconic, logic-defying straight 6 off Haris Rauf. It just perfectly shows his unparalleled ability to thrive when the pressure is at its absolute highest.
Then you shift over to the Indian Premier League, and the numbers remain just as astronomical. 8,661. That is the all-time IPL scoring record. And yeah, it's held by Kohli. He's been fiercely loyal to one franchise, Royal Challengers Bengaluru, since day 1 in 2008. And as we know, his monumental efforts, like racking up 657 runs in the 2025 season, recently culminated in helping RCB finally break their grueling 18-year title drought. He is the ultimate anchor for that team. And the milestones just keep piling up. We're talking 85 international centuries across formats. 58 of those actually resulted in India winning the match, which completely proves his runs aren't just empty padding, they're vital match-winning contributions. Then there's the superhuman 973 runs he scored in a single IPL season back in 2016, a record that literally still feels untouchable. Plus, 7 Test double centuries, the most by any Indian player ever. The real takeaway here is the relentless mechanical consistency it takes to achieve this across 3 entirely different formats of the game for well over a decade. Chapter 3. The GOAT Debate. Because when you reach this level of absolute dominance, comparison with the legendary Sachin Tendulkar is inevitable.
And this brilliantly illustrates what we're talking about. Just look at the raw efficiency here. Kohli registers a century every 5.65 innings in one-day internationals. Sachin? 9.22. Furthermore, Kohli boasts a staggering average of 58.02 against Tendulkar's 44.83. So from a pure mathematical standpoint, Kohli's brutal efficiency and just unmatched century conversion rate make a seriously compelling argument that he is the greatest ODI batter we have ever seen.
But, it's not just about their individual averages. It's about the massive burden they carried for their teams. Both men were the absolute engines for their respective eras. While at the crease, Sachin scored 17.89% of all of India's runs. Kohli edges that out just slightly at 18.66%. Think about that for a second. They were individually responsible for nearly a fifth of all team production when they were out there batting. They both carried the weight of a billion expectations squarely on their shoulders.
However, context is everything, which is exactly why this debate is so beautifully complicated. Tendulkar fought through a fundamentally tougher bowling ecosystem. He faced the absolute prime of Wasim Akram and Mutia Muralitharan with one new ball that would heavily reverse swing, which made it incredibly difficult to hit, on pitches that were far, far less forgiving. On the other hand, we have the modern era that Kohli perfected. Two new balls from 2011 onwards, which effectively killed reverse swing, coupled with much flatter decks and stricter field restrictions putting 5 fielders in the ring. Kohli maximized this aggressive modern template flawlessly, for sure. But Tendulkar essentially invented the template in a much harsher environment. We're definitely not taking sides here, we are just appreciating two entirely distinct eras of mastery.
Chapter 4. Rewiring Indian Test Cricket. Let's shift gears and examine his legacy as a leader. The absolutely crucial number to remember here is 40. Under Virat Kohli's captaincy, India won 40 test matches. That is 13 more than any other Indian captain in history. Now, before Kohli, an overseas test win was a rare, massively celebrated anomaly for India. But by the time he stepped down, he had shifted the psychological expectations so profoundly that winning in tough places like Australia and England wasn't just hoped for anymore. It literally became the standard.
So, how did he actually achieve this? Well, he implemented a pretty ruthless 3-step blueprint. Step 1. He demanded elite, non-negotiable fitness. He introduced the grueling 17-1 yo-yo test standard. Basically, you were fit or you didn't play. Simple as that. Step 2. He completely shifted India's traditional reliance on spin by building a fearsome fast bowling cartel with Bumrah, Shami, and Ishant, prioritizing taking 20 wickets overseas. And Step 3. He fully embraced high-risk run chases. In his very first match as captain in Adelaide in 2014, instead of playing for a safe, boring draw, he told MS Dhoni they were going to try and chase down 364 on day 5. Now, they didn't actually win that match, but that fearless mindset completely transformed India from a safety-first batting side into a high-risk global powerhouse.
Chapter 5. A Global Digital Empire. What exactly happens when you combine on-field dominance with an elite mindset?
Well, the sheer scale of his reach in 2026 is just staggering. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is, looking at the most followed athletes on Instagram globally, you have Cristiano Ronaldo up top at roughly 650 million, Lionel Messi at 520 million, and right behind them is Virat Kohli with 270 million followers. Guys, he is the only non-footballer in this stratosphere. He totally bridges the gap between cricket and global pop culture. He reportedly gains around 45,000 new followers every single day during active seasons. That's like an entire town clicking follow every 24 hours.
And as you might guess, that influence translates directly into monumental commercial power. His estimated annual earnings strictly from social media sit between $35 and $45 million. We are talking about a valuation of $1.5 to $2 million for a single sponsored post. When you contrast this staggering financial reality with the 17-year-old kid who went back out to bat the morning after his father passed away, the picture of his growth is simply breathtaking.
Which brings us to our final thought today. So, what does this all mean? Is true greatness defined by the sheer volume of runs and the insane numbers you achieve, or by the fearless, uncompromising mindset you leave behind for the next generation? Virat Kohli has undeniably given us both. And that, my friends, is exactly why, no matter how much he begs us to stop, the world will always insist on calling the reluctant man king. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.
Welcome